Hello friends, in last video we have seen telephone etiquettes. Now in this video uh, we are going to see other aspects of telephone etiquettes. In last video we have also seen one more aspect of telephone etiquettes, and that was pre-call preparation. If you want to attend the telephone calls, so what sort of preparation is required, what sort of preparation is done, and that people have discussed in the last video. So friends, after knowing the pre-call preparation, we are going to see the another aspects of telephone etiquettes. Now we are going to talk about one more thing, one more aspect of telephonic or telephone etiquettes, and that is answering calls from for others. When you are there to answer call others, when you are doing a job of receptionist, or when you are sitting on reception counter and attending the calls that we receive for your organization from outsiders, so in that case how those calls can be answered and what is a proper way, what is a proper procedure to answer those calls, we are discussing here under this element, under this aspect of answering calls for others. So when you are there to receive the call and when you are going to answer those calls, it becomes answering call for others. So there are certain, not I'm going to say rules, there are certain etiquettes that we need to follow, that we need to take care at the time of answering calls for others. The first one is identify yourself and the company. So whenever you receive a call, the first duty of your and the person who is receiving the call is, first of all, you need to identify yourself. For example, you are sitting on the reception counter of TC College Baramati and somebody calls you. So what is the first line that you people have to utter, that you people have to speak from your mouth? Hello, my name is, for example, I'm sitting there on the TC College counter. So how it can be done? What they have said, identify yourself. So tell him or tell him or her about your name first, and then identify your company also. So what should be done? Suppose I'm there and I'm sitting on the chair of receptionist of TC College Baramati, and if I receive a call, so what is a way to answer this call? First of all, I have to go for my own identification, and after that I have to go for a company identification. So it can be done like this. Hello, this is Dr. Janardhan Pawar, TC College Baramati. So this way you can identify yourself, at the same time you can identify your company also. So this is the way to answer the call when you are there in this particular case. Next one, offer assistance in the absence of others. For example, after identifying yourself and your company, then ask for the assistance. So this way it can be done. Whatever help they want from your side, that is to be given from your side first. If you are able to assist them, then assist them. If you are not able to assist them, then transfer the call to the concerned party or concerned person who is going to assist him or her. Do not make commitments for others. Basically what happens when we receive the call in in that what we call it, sometimes we try to make some commitments, and those which are not the part and parcel of our life, so that should be taken care. Do not make any sort of commitments when you want to answer that particular call. If it is not in your hand, try to make them happy from your answers only, and if it is not in your hand to commit something, do not commit anything else. Take accurate message, and if somebody wants to give you a message to your boss or some other managers or any other officers of your organization, so take their message in a right manner or in an accurate manner. If you don't understand anything else, ask him to repeat the same things, and this way right message is taken or accurate message is taken. So when you answer some calls for others, so that in that case what you people have to do, what are the telephonic or telephone etiquettes if you want to answer calls. In case of answering the calls also, there are certain etiquettes or telephone etiquettes. Those I'm repeating here again. First of all, you people have to identify yourself as well as your company, then ask for the assistance, then do not make any sort of commitments, and finally you have to take accurate message from others for your company. So these are the answering calls or etiquettes under this particular category of answering call for others. Moving on to the next one, This is the next one, which happens every time we ask for this, and that is also important. Mostly what happens, somebody calls us, and we don't have, sometimes we do not have pen to write somebody, sometimes that person is not on the chair, and so on, or that some person is little bit busy with work or for a while, and he or she may ask you to hold the phone for a while. So there is one particular process, and that process is followed if you are busy with work and suddenly you get a call. So in that case, you cannot cannot neglect the call or ignore the call, but you may ask that particular caller to hold the call. So this particular thing is called what, hold procedure and transferring call. Sometimes your call, or you, for example, you called on the reception counter, and you're asking for the some XYZ person. So that receptionist will say like this, sir, please hold, I'm transferring the call. So this kind of procedure will is called what, hold procedure and transferring the call. So there is one static, there is one particular hold procedure, and there is one particular procedure is also followed for transferring the call. So in case of hold procedure and transferring the call, certain telephone etiquettes are followed, and those etiquettes we are discussing here. So if you want to hold the call, or if you want to ask him to hold the call, or if you want to transfer the call from one department to another department, certain procedure is followed, and that particular procedure is followed between the caller and the person who is attending the call or who is receiving the call. So this one is the procedure which is taken place between the person who is calling and the person who is receiving, or the caller and the receiver. So how it can be done, suppose somebody is asking you to transfer the call. Suppose transfer the call to a certain or a particular department. In that case, the person who is receiving the call has to go for two things. Okay, suppose that receptionist is busy for a while, and he is not able to answer the caller's question. So in that case, that receptionist has to make one request to the caller to hold the call. For example, you are asking him to hold the call. So how it can be done? It can be done by taking his permission. You need to take the permission of caller in this case. So you need to make one request to the caller for holding the call. So seek permission means what, you people have to seek the permission from the caller about holding the call. Then specify the duration. For example, you cannot ask him to hold the call for 1 hour, 2 hour, 10 minutes, 5 minutes. So you may say like this, sir, please hold the call for 2 minutes, please hold the call for 2 seconds, 1 minute, like this. So if you specify the time, that person will understand for how much duration he has to hold the call. If you are not going to specify this thing, people will be in confusion for how many hours or how many minutes he is going to hold. So that should be clearly given when you when you ask him to hold the call. So first one is you need to seek his permission. Sir, can you hold the call like this? So this one is the permission. Then ask him to hold the call for 2 minutes, 5 minutes, or 1 minute, or like this, or in seconds also. So this way it can be done. Explain the reason for transfer. For example, somebody is asking some information from you, and if you are not a right authority to provide the information, in that case you are there to explain the reason why you are transferring the call from you to another person, because he is the right person and he will give you the information, and this is what call will be transferred. Then wait for the customer's response. Then once you ask for the permission, once you ask for the, when you tell you something about the duration, and when you explain the reason, then do not transfer the call immediately. When the customer or when the caller is ready to say yes, you can transfer the call. Yes, I will hold for 2 minutes, or if I'm ready to hold for 2 or minutes or 5 minutes, whatever it is, then only you go for transfer of call. Then only you can put your phone down and go for other work. Then wait for customer response, that also we have seen. Get back to the customer in the committed time frame. Then suppose, for example, if you have taken a permission of 2 minutes only, so whatever 2 minutes you people have given to the customer or to the caller, in those 2 minutes or before 2 minutes or in 2 minutes, you people have to get back to your customer. It shows how prompt you are in your business. So these are the, you cannot keep hold your customer. You don't have that right to hang your customer on the call. So this way it can be done. And here what we people have seen, we have seen the procedure of holding the call and transferring the calls in case of telephone etiquettes. So here in this case of telephone etiquettes, what we people have seen, here we people have to take the permission. We have to ask for the permission first. Permission is given, then ask, specify the time, whatever time you're asking him to hold, then explain the reason of transferring, then wait for the customer's response and get back to the customer in committed time, whatever time you people have committed to the caller. That should be also taken care. So these are the hold procedure and transferring calls related telephone etiquettes which we people have seen in a thorough manner. Moving on to the next one, if you are there to handle some complaints, and there is one specific procedure to handle the complaints also. So if you are handling the complaints of your customer or caller, certain, basically there are certain procedure that is followed. I think we people are also taking this experience when we have some complaints with our mobile phones. Basically we have some, when we have some complaints with our mobile phones and service providers, like suppose somebody has any service provider is there. So suppose we have some complaints, we register or we lodge those complaints to our concern service provider by using customer care number, and we lodge our complaints, and they handle our complaints. So how they handle our complaints, there is one particular procedure to handle the complaints of the customer. So what is a procedure to handle the complaints, that also I'm going to discuss here. If you want to handle the complaints of the customer, there is one particular procedure that is followed, and the point number one and the step number one to in handling customers complaint is listen carefully. See what happens when somebody is there to lodge the complaint. That person is always in anger because he has suffered or he is suffering because of that particular fault in service or anything else. So that person is in anger. So whatever he is saying, as a receiver, as a call receiver, you have to listen the complaint of the customer in a very, very careful manner. So listen carefully, whatever he is saying, whatever your customer is saying, you people have to listen it very carefully. When you listen it carefully, then you will understand whatever he is going to say, whatever he wants to say. So this is what you need to listen it very carefully. Then convey sincere interest and be emphatic. So whatever message you've received from his complaint, that should be conveyed in a sincere interest and be empathetic. That should be done. Agree as often as possible. So whenever you feel agree and you say yes, I'm agree with your complaint and I will take care of your complaint. So that should be done, that should be taken care. So you want to show your agreement, as well as oftenly people have to talk about your agreement and possible. Remain calm and courteous. So when you receive complaints from your customer, you should be very, very calm and courteous. You should be talk with polite language with your customer. Do not use abuse words. Do not show your anger if you feel angry while receiving the complaints from the customer. Always be calm and courteous with your customer. Do not argue when you are receiving complaints from your customer. Do not make any sort of argument with your customer. That is also expected, that is also there in this particular things. Do not interrupt to your customer in between. If he is explaining the complaint, then in that case do not interrupt, do not stop your customer to lodge his or her complaint. So do not make any sort of interruption in conversation, that is expected. Do not blame co-workers. When you work in the organization and if you are receiving a complaint of your colleague or your co-worker, in that case do not blame your colleague, do not blame your co-worker for committing any sort of mistake. So that is also expected. And these are the things which we people have seen here as far as telephonic manners are concerned or telephone manners are concerned. there are certain manners, or sorry, telephonic etiquette that are concerned. So there are certain things that are the part of telephone etiquettes when you handle complaints. So if you are sitting there to handle complaints, so there are different steps that we need to follow, that we people have to follow. Step number one, whatever complaint you are receiving from the customer, that should be listened very carefully. Then convey sincere interest, agree as often as possible. You have to show your agree, or you have to show that you are agree with the complaint lodged by the concerned authority. Then remain cool and calm and courteous with your customer. Do not interrupt to your customer while lodging the complaint. And finally, do not blame your coworkers. If somebody is saying that your coworker is responsible for this, so do not blame your colleague or your coworker of the organization. So these are the things that we need to take care while handling complaints on telephone calls. After this, we are going to see another aspect of telephonic or telephone. Again, certain things are there, and that we are going to discuss here. As far as handling complaints are concerned, again certain things are there that we need to discuss, explain clearly. Now the things are done from the customer side. Once the complaint is registered, complaint is given by the customer, now your role will start. So once the complaint is registered with you, your work will start. So as far as your work is concerned, what should be what is expected from you to the customer, that I am discussing here. So whatever answer you want to give, whatever explanation that you want to give, that should be given in a very clear manner. So clear explanation is necessary. Clear explanation that will satisfy the doubts and the queries of the customer. Do not make unrealistic promises. The things which are not in your hands, do not promise for those things to the customer. If it is unrealistic, do not say I will try to do that or I will do that, don't worry, like this. If you have committed some mistake, if your organization has committed some mistakes, if it is done something wrong by your colleague or co-worker, apologize for that. If you show your apologize, definitely customer will be happy and he will say, or he will feel comfortable with you. Act fast. Whatever decision you want to take, that should be taken in a very faster manner. So whatever you want to say, that should be done in a whatever you want to do, that should be done in a very fast manner. Fast action should be taken place. And the last one, follow up. So once the complaint is registered, follow up should be taken after certain interval. So regular follow up is important in case of complaint. So these are the things which are expected from you as a call receiver to a customer or to a caller. So those are the things that we people have studied under the concept of this, what do we call it, telephone manners. And under that, we have seen how to handle the complaints. We have seen two sides. We have seen the sides of customers, as well as we have seen how to answer the questions, how to answer the queries of a customer if they lodge their complaint in case of this particular telephone manners or telephone etiquettes. Moving to the next one, that we are going to see in next part of the lecture. Till then, stay tuned and stay connected. Thank you very much.